This next song that I'll play for you is from those Weatherman days. In 2017, I attended the Folk Alliance International Conference for the first time. It's this huge gathering of thousands of folk musicians from all over the world who converge for a 4-day immersion. It's a kind of a social experiment of networking and showcasing. And it's the only place in the world where you can and want to listen to somebody sing their own songs on 4 floors of packed hotel rooms until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And Annie DeFranco was our keynote speaker that year, and she put it to all of us to write a political song. I'm sure we can all recall the year 2017 and what was unfolding politically. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything pressing to write about concerning the person that was getting elected into office, but I did come up with these lyrics, and that was sarcastic if you didn't catch it. It's called What Am I Supposed to Think? What am I supposed to think when you can't hear opinions and question your own beliefs and your own contradictions? A frame of mind is hard for those who choose not to see. What am I supposed to think? Your attention lacks compassion on the words you choose to speak. All ripe with flaws and backlash, with a light enough to float. Yet somehow they still manage to sink. Well, now what am I supposed to think? It's about time I started using my mind to better my beliefs. What am I supposed to think when injustice runs rampant, bought up by monopoly? Lord, and my government cannot govern me, don't fix me up with a tie on a working wage by and by. Here now, what am I supposed to think? It's about time I started using my mind to better my beliefs. What am I supposed to think? What good is resistance, and who he's supposed to be when they push us in their systems to be happy within? Just as long as you're giving in to a life without thinking twice. Well, now what am I supposed to think? It's about time I started using my mind to better my beliefs. Over the last 17 years of playing music, I've learned that it takes many, many bad songs and rough days, months, even years to get to the point where I found my versions of success. My career highlights include opening for Taj Mahal, the Wailers, CAAMP, the Wood Brothers, Ballroom Thieves, Dom Flemons, John Craigie, and many others. I've released 10 full-length albums, with another one on the way this year, remaining completely independent of contracts, managers, labels, agents, paid for entirely on my own or through crowdfunding. I've gotten Sure. I've gotten to tour. I've gotten to tour and perform at festivals and venues in 10 countries across 3 continents. And I started my own booking and consulting company, Earth Tone Booking Agency. But the same year that I wrote the song, What Am I Supposed to Think?, the pace that I was running caught up with me. And the truth of #van life was, though we were saying yes to new experiences with new people every day, and we were truly liberated by the lack of material possessions and the routines of adult life, I'd been performing 180 shows for 4 years, living inside of a hot black box, showering once every 4 or so days, traversing the country back and forth, only spending maybe a day or 2 in one place. And we've been scraping the bottom of the barrel for a long time, and nothing was left. So finally, I snapped at a show in Cleveland, Ohio. I left halfway through my set, and I canceled the next 6 months of tour with no backup plan. And within a week, however, my wife was on Instagram, and she saw that a friend of ours from Jacksonville was living down in Costa Rica. So on a total whim, we just said, hey, is there any jobs? Are there any jobs down there? And he said, yeah, send your CVs, and there's a brand new eco-retreat center that needs Americans with restaurant and event experience to move down there and help with the first phase of the project. Life is funny like that. So we packed what was left in our van and lived in the tropics for the next 8 months. While we were there, I had the chance to slow down and breathe for the first time in years. I hadn't taken a full weekend off from playing a show in nearly a decade prior to that. But during those 8 months in Costa Rica, I just played one show. I started thinking more about my intentions with music. I'd let my ego kind of run amok for a long time, became completely dependent on applause and validation from other people to enjoy performing. I honestly didn't have any idea who I was with or without music. So I spent time thinking about what was important to me. What kept coming back was my love for music of the past, a seed that was planted by Swanee and the soundtrack to Oh Brother Where Art Thou. And I found obscure blues musicians whose guitar playing was like nothing that I'd ever heard before, like Mississippi John Hurt, who you're hearing right now. And he was one of the gateways into more folk and blues music of the past. And I began practicing how to play Piedmont blues guitar, which is the foundation of many finger styles. And I started with Elizabeth Cotton's classic, Freight Train. I was back to playing music for me again. And my mind was made up when I got this song down. I'd start performing under my full birth name, Nicholas Edward Williams. But first, I decided to do a farewell to Weatherman tour. One last hurrah in Old Black Betty before settling down in a place unknown by that October. And it was on that tour at the foothills of the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York that my fate was sealed. My wife and I were staying in the area for 2 months while I played shows all over the Northeast. And we were walking into this farmer's market in Keene Valley, New York. It was 90 plus degrees out, and I entered the vendor tents, and the first thing I heard was this truly jaw-dropping guitar. And it was right in the vein of everything that I was listening to and everything that I was learning. But I hadn't actually seen anybody do it in person. So I followed that scent like a bloodhound, and to my utter disbelief, the source was this 70-year-old woman sitting in the sun with a portable breathing machine sitting next to her and 2 long tubes that ran up into her nose. And I literally could not take my eyes off of what was happening. This is what she sounded like. There was this guy standing next to me who kindly picked up my jaw from the ground and said, "That's Joan Crane. She gives lessons, you know." So I waited for a song break, and I told her that I had a gig that night locally, and if she'd be willing to come to see if I was a worthy student or not. And the whole thing was straight out of a movie. That night, I'm on stage, I'm getting ready to play my first song, and I see Joan walk in, and she makes a point not to look at me. And she sits at the bar directly in front of me with her back to me. And so I opened with a song from the Anthology of American Folk Music. It's called James Alley Blues by Richard Rabbit Brown. And after the song ended, she walked up to the stage, handed me a piece of paper. She said, "Meet me this Wednesday at this address at this time. Don't be late." I was like, "Okay, yes, ma'am." And Joan was taught by Andy Cohen, who is a student of the legendary Reverend Gary Davis's lineage. She became my mentor and dear friend that summer, and over the next year and a half, I'd come in and out of town, and we would do lessons on the phone, or here's a clip of us performing together. It's a song called Morning Blues. So my wife and I pulled up to Chattanooga in October of 2018 inside of Black Betty, mainly because she'd come here to climb when she was in college, and we had a few friends that were going to be moving here within a few months. So we joined a climbing group on Facebook. We posted that we were looking for a spare place to rent, and within an hour, we went and looked at this split-level finished basement in Hickson for $700 a month, partially furnished, and we've been here ever since. It took a while to find our people, but there's something about this city that I've always loved and yet never fully understood. I just know that we were meant to be here. We had our son Arlo here in 2020, and we have another one on the way this August. And for the first time in my life, I'm part of this vibrant and ever-evolving music community, and it truly feels like a dream. My mentor, Joan, had 2 collapsed lungs when I first met her. And by early 2020, the toll that it took on her body was fatal. I was her last student, and our last session was over the phone. She was in the hospital, and she had me play an instrumental piece called Windy and Warm to show me off to her nurses. Joan taught me this concept that she called playing it forward, paying homage to the musicians and the styles that shaped American music by continuing to play the songs and share the stories. I owe everything that I'm doing today as a preservationist to her. When she passed, I felt like there was more for me to do than just playing these songs and sharing the stories live on stage. So then the pandemic hit. And like so many of my musician friends, I turned to Facebook live streams, and I started these morning coffee sessions where between Monday and Friday at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I would play for about an hour. And that helped me pay the bills for a long time, in addition to some grants. And a good friend of mine mentioned that he wanted to watch, but he couldn't watch Facebook while he was at work. And he said I should start a podcast. And I did a little research and discovered that I would be walking into a gauntlet of copyright infringement if I was going to do the same thing of morning coffee sessions and a podcast. But there was something educational that I could do, because there were no music history podcasts that covered American roots music, and certainly no podcasts that were documentary form for American roots music. So I came up with some demos and a documentary-style story structure, and I called it American Songcatcher. So I had 2 pandemic babies in the summer of 2020. And 3 seasons, 54 episodes later, I've covered the stories of over 150 artists and songs, had the chance to partner with Smithsonian Folkways and the R. Hooley Foundation. And the show is syndicated on NPR stations in the Southeast with a streaming audience of over 100 countries over the world. And I always say that it's a second career that doesn't pay very well, but I'm trying to change that. I've partnered with an Atlanta-based nonprofit called Music in Common, who since 2005 has directly served thousands of people in more than 300 communities across the US, the Middle East, the Far East, by using music to connect, empower, and to promote cross-cultural understanding. This partnership means that American Songcatcher now has the ability to be sustained through tax-exempt donations and nonprofit grants, so that I can continue doing this for years to come. And I'd like to thank TEDx and Maggie and Cody and everybody that put this together for including me tonight, and to such a gracious and attentive audience, and to anybody that watches this video for listening to this long and this long story and the greater story that I'm a part of in American roots music. In closing, I'm going to bring my good friend Gordon Inman out here, and among many other things, yeah, you can clap for him, why not? In addition to many other things, Gordon and I are in a group called the New Quintet, which is a local group, as is Cody, your host. And quick plug that we'll be playing here on June 29th with Call Me Spinster, for anybody that's interested in that. The tickets will go on sale next week. And this song kind of perfectly encapsulates where I'm at today as a preservationist, that also writes songs on occasion. So it's mixing styles of the past with the present, and it's paying homage to my guitar hero, Mississippi John Hurt, and it's aptly named Mississippi John.
Mississippi John, the song's still playing even when you're good and gone. That front porch picking is under that southern sun. Let it roll, mama, feeling fine and young. Play that one called Staggering Lee, and them blues ever pulled a tear out of me. Now that Appalachia Delta feel, said you make a word man sing like a salty dog in heat. Ah, Mississippi John, the song's still playing even when you're good and gone. Yeah, that front porch picking is under that southern sun. Now you let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. All right. Make me down a pallet on your floor. Boogie woogie came, baby, long before rock and roll. Oh, that boy John Henry, he's a hard-working soul. Ooh, said that hammer in hand when he died and passed on. Oh, now Mississippi John, the song's still playing even when you're good and gone. See that front porch picking is under that southern sun. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young. Let it roll, mama, I'm feeling fine and young.
Gordon Inman, Nicholas Williams, thank you so much for listening, folks.